How to create a melee combat system in Unreal Engine 5. This system will include a light, heavy, and combo attack. For this tutorial, I'll be using animations downloaded from Mixamo, which I will link in the description. First, we're going to set up the base walking and idle animations. So open the content browser, right-click, go to Animations, then select Blend Space. Select your character's skeleton, then we're going to name this BS_movement. Open it, then in the Details panel, expand the horizontal axis, then we're going to name this Speed. We need to set the maximum axis value to our player's walking speed. To find this, go to the content browser and locate your player character blueprint. Open it, then click on the character movement component. Then in the Details panel, search for max walk speed. In my case, the max walk speed is 500. So now we can go back to the blend space and set the maximum axis value to 500. Now in the asset browser, we want to search for our idle animation. Drag this into the bottom left of the graph. Next, we want to search for our walking animation. Drag this into the bottom right of the graph. If you hold Ctrl and move the mouse over the graph, you can see how these two animations will blend into each other based on the player's speed. Save this. Next, we're going to set up our character's animation blueprint. So open the content browser, right-click, go to Animation, then select Animation Blueprint. Select your skeleton, then click Create. Name this ABP_player_character. Open it, then go to the event graph. Separate these nodes, then right-click and search for an event begin play. Drag off this return value and search for a cast to your player character. Connect this to the event begin play. Right-click this pin and promote it to a variable. Name this player character. Next, drag in this variable and get it. Drag off it and search for an isValid. Connect this to the event blueprint update animation. Drag off the player character again and search for character movement. Drag off it and search for get velocity. Drag off it and search for vector length XY. This will give us the player's speed. Right-click and promote this to a variable. Call this speed. Connect it to the isValid pin. Next, go to the animation graph, right-click and search for a state machine. Call this movement. Connect it to the output pose. Double-click to open it, then drag off the entry and add a state. Call this idle/walk. Double-click to open it. In the asset browser, search for our movement blend space. Drag it into the graph, then connect it to the output. Next, drag in the speed variable and get it. Connect it to the speed pin on the blend space. Next, we're going to make it so that our player character uses this animation blueprint. So open your player character and click on the character mesh. Then set the animation class to our new animation blueprint. If you open the viewport, you can see that our character is now using our sword animations. If you compile and save, then go back to the viewport and press play, you can see that our idle and walking animations are now working. Next, we're going to make it so that our character is holding a sword. So go back to the player character, select the mesh, then click Add. In my case, my sword asset is a static mesh, so I'm going to add that. However, yours may be a skeletal mesh. Name this Sword. Next, in the Details panel, go to the Static Mesh drop-down and search for your sword asset. Next, we want to attach the sword to the player's right hand. So click the search button next to the parent socket and search for the right hand bone. Next we need to move the sword asset so it fits perfectly in the player's hand. To make this easier, click this button, then deselect real time. This will freeze the character's idle animation. Next, move and rotate the sword so that it fits in the player's hand. Once you have done this, compile and save, then go back to the viewport and press play. You can see that the sword is now fixed in the player's hand. We're going to add 3 different types of attack in this tutorial, including a light, heavy and combo attack. So let's start with the light attack. First we're going to need to add an input, so go to the content browser and locate your input actions folder. Right click, then go to input, then select input action. Name this IA_light attack. This input's value type should be set to digital bool. Save and close this, then go back to the content browser and locate your input mapping context. Open it, then expand this, then click the Add button to add a new input. Go to the drop down, then select your light attack input. Expand this, then click the keyboard button. Press the input on your keyboard or mouse that you want to use for this attack. For this tutorial, I'm just going to use left click. Next, save this, then go back to the player character. In some space, right click and search for our light attack input action. Expand this, then drag in our character mesh. Drag off it and search for play montage. This will be used to play our light attack animation. Connect this to the started pin. Next we're going to set up our light attack animation. So open the content browser and locate it. Right click on it, go to create, then click on create anim montage. Name this AM_light attack. Then open it. Next we need to add a notify at the point in the animation where we want to deal damage to the enemy. So move along the timeline until you find that point. Then right click on the 1 track, go to add notify, then select montage notify. Move this into the right position, then you can name it something like attack. Now that you've done this, you can click save, then go back to the player character and set it as the montage we want to play. To get this to play, we need to quickly go back to the player's animation blueprint. Open up the animation graph, then we want to drag off the movement state machine and add a default slot. Now if we compile and save, then go back to the viewport and press play. Now if you press your attack input, the animation will now play. You may notice that if you attack while moving, the player's legs stop showing the walking animation. To fix this, we want to make it so the attack animation only shows on the top half of the player's body. To do this, open up the light attack montage. Click on this drop down, go to slot name and select upper body. Save this, then go back to the animation blueprint. Detach the movement state machine from the default slot and then move it into some space. Drag off it and search for a new saved cache pose. Name this movement cache. Next, detach the default slot from the output pose. Then in some space, right click and search for a layered blend per bone. Connect this to the output. Next, right click and search for our movement cache. Connect this to the base pose pin. Copy and paste it below, then connect it to the default slot. Select the default slot, then in the details panel, change the slot name to the upper body. Then connect this to the blend pose 0 pin. Next, select the layered blend per bone node. Then in the details panel, add a branch filter. Then expand it. We want to set the bone name to one of the lower spine bones. This is so that the animation only plays from above this bone. We need the exact name of the bone, so to find this, go to the player character, click on the character mesh, then in the details panel, click this search button next to the skeletal mesh asset. Then open it. Next, click this button to open the character's skeleton. On the left, look for the player's first spine bone. Right-click on it, then click Copy Selected Bone Names. Next, we can go back to the animation blueprint and paste it in the bone name. Next, we can compile and save, then go back to the viewport and press play. Now if you attack while moving, you will see that the attack animation plays on the top half of the body, while the walking animation plays on the bottom half. Next, we're going to make it so the player can apply damage when they attack. So go back to the player character, then drag off the On Notify Begin. Search for a multi-sphere trace for objects. This will create a sphere when the notify in the animation montage is triggered. This sphere will allow us to detect if an enemy has been hit so that we can apply damage to it. We want this sphere trace to be created at the location of the sword when the notify is triggered. So first drag in the sword mesh, then drag off it and search for Get World Location. Connect this to the start and end pins. Set the radius to around 50. Next, drag off the object types and search for Make Array. Here you can select what type of objects we'll be able to do damage to. For this tutorial, I'm going to create some enemy characters, so I'll go to the drop down and select Pawn. For testing, set the Draw Debug type to 4 duration. Compile and save, then go back to the viewport and press play. If you press your attack input, you will now see that a sphere trace spawns at the location of the sword during the attack. Currently, if you spam the attack input, it will start cancelling out the attack animation. To fix this, go back to the player character and add a new input. Call this isAttacking. Drag it into the graph and set it. Set it to true, then attach it to the play montage. Next, copy then paste it below and set it to false. Then connect it to the onCompleted pin. Next, before the play montage, drag in the variable again. This time get it, then drag off it and search for a branch. Connect this to the started pin, then connect the false pin to the play montage. Now if you compile and save, then go back to the viewport and press play, you will no longer be able to spam the attack and you'll have to wait for it to have finished before you can attack again. Next we're going to make it so the attack can apply damage. So go back to the player character, then drag off this return value and search for a branch. Next drag off the out hits and search for a for each loop. Connect this to the true pin. Next drag off the array element and search for a break hit result. Expand this, then drag off the hit actor and search for apply damage. Connect this to the for each loop. Then you can set the base damage to something like 25. Next we're going to make a simple enemy so that we can test out this damage. So go to the content browser, right click, go to Blueprint Class, then select Character. Name this BP_enemy. Open it, then click on the character mesh. In the details panel, go to the skeletal mesh asset drop-down and select a mesh. Move and rotate the character mesh so that it fits within the capsule and is facing the same way as the arrow. Next, in the details panel, scroll down to the collision section and set the collision preset to no collision. Next, go to the event graph and delete these events. Right-click and search for Event Any Damage. To test that this works, we're going to use a print string, so drag off the event and search for print string. Then connect the damage pin to the in string. Compile and save, then go back to the viewport. Open the content browser, then drag the enemy into the level. Now if you press play and attack the enemy, you'll see that the sphere trace is now green, and the damage taken by the enemy is printed in the top left corner. As you can see, the enemy is moving when he's hit with the sword. This is a simple collision issue, so go back to the player character, then select the sword mesh, then in the details panel, set the collision preset to no collision. Now if you compile and save, then go back to the viewport and press play, we no longer have this collision issue when attacking the enemy. Next, we're going to give the player the ability to perform a heavy attack. To do this, we need to create another input, so go back to the content browser and locate the Input Actions folder. Right-click on the light attack input and duplicate it. Call this IA_heavy attack. I'm going to quickly save, then we'll go back to the content browser and locate our input mapping context. Then open it. Add another input, then go to the drop-down and select our heavy attack. Click the keyboard button and select the key you want to use for this attack. I'm just going to use right-click. Now you can save and close this. Next, we're going to set up the animation montage. So in the content browser, right-click on your heavy attack animation, then go to Create, then Create Anim Montage. Name this AM_heavy attack. Open it. Next, move along the timeline till you find the point in the animation when you want to apply the damage. Right-click on the one track, go to Add Notify, then select Montage Notify. Make sure it's in the right position, then name it Attack. Next, go to this drop-down, go to Slot Name, then select Upper Body. Save and close this, then go back to the player character. Next, we're going to make it so that our attack code can be used for multiple different types of attack. To do this, disconnect our light attack input and move it out the way. Right-click and add a custom event. Name this Sword Attack. We're going to add a few inputs so that we can change the animation, radius and damage for each attack type. So in the details panel, add a new input. Name this Attack Montage. Set the type to Anim Montage. Next, add another input and call it Attack Radius. Set the type to Float. Finally, add one more input and call it Attack Damage. Make sure that this is also a float. Next, connect the event to the branch. Then connect the Attack Montage pin to the montage to play. Next, attach the Attack Radius to the Radius pin on the multi-sphere trace. Finally, connect the Attack Damage pin to the Base Damage on the Apply Damage node. Next, go down to the Light Attack input and drag off the Started pin. Search for our Sword Attack event. Here we can set the animation montage to our Light Attack montage. We can also set what radius and what damage we want to use for this attack. Next, right-click on the graph and search for our Heavy Attack input action. Drag off the Started pin and search for our Sword Attack event. Go to the drop-down and select your Heavy Attack montage. As this is the Heavy Attack, I'm going to set the radius and damage to something slightly higher than the Light Attack. Now if you compile and save, then go back to the viewport and press play, you should now have a working Heavy Attack as well as a Light Attack. Finally, we're going to create one more attack, which will be a combo. This will apply damage multiple times within one attack animation. So we're going to do the same again, so go back to the content browser and locate your combo attack animation. Right-click on it, go to Create, then Create Animation Montage. Name this AM_combo attack. Open it. This time we need to find multiple points in the animation where we want to apply damage. So scroll across until you find the first position. Then like before, add a montage notify. Next you want to repeat this process for every point where you want to apply damage. Once you have done this, go to the drop-down, go to Slot Name and select Upper Body. Now you can just save and close this. Next we'll quickly add the input for the combo attack. so go to the content browser and locate your input actions folder. Right-click on one of our attack inputs and duplicate it. Name this IA_combo attack. Next, find the input mapping context and open it. Add a new input, then go to the drop-down and select our combo attack. Click the keyboard button, then select the key you want to use for this attack. I'm just going to use C on the keyboard. Now you can save and close this, then go back to the player character. Right-click on the graph and add the combo attack input action. Copy and paste the sword attack event, then connect it to the started pin. Set the animation montage to our combo attack montage. Then I would suggest lowering the attack damage. If you compile and save, then go back to the viewport and press play. You should now have a working combo attack which deals damage multiple times within the same animation. The final thing we need to do is turn off the sphere debug, so go back to the player character, then on the multi-sphere trace node set the draw debug type to none. You should now have a working melee combat system with a light, heavy and combo attack. If this video helped you, please feel free to like and subscribe or support me on Patreon so that I can keep making these Unreal Engine tutorials. Thank you so much for watching.